Hi, my name is DelmarshaeWalker. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a great day today. What I want to talk about in this video is something that happened back in 2021. The first incident was in May of 2021, where in Florida, a water system was hacked, and the person who was watching it, the worker, he noticed that his mouse was moving by itself. And so the person who was hacking the system was trying to raise the level of it was a certain chemical that it was using. They was trying to raise it, which would actually poison everyone. But he was able to catch it and turn the levels back down to normal. The second incident that happened back in 2021 was in May with the Colonial Pipeline, and that runs from the Gulf of Mexico, and it carries oil all the way up into the eastern states. That was hacked by a malware, and so that kind of stopped the oil flow. So it was like a gas shortage for a short period of time. And so I want to go ahead and share those two videos with you.
A hacking attack on a water treatment plant is raising big questions about the vulnerability of critical facilities nationwide. Federal investigators are searching for a hacker who tried to poison the Oldsmar, Florida water system on Friday, just 15 miles from the Super Bowl, right before the big game. Officials say the intruder broke into the water treatment controls for about 5 minutes. As Jeff Pegues reports, the intent was to add too much of a dangerous chemical.
This is obviously a significant and potentially dangerous increase.
Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Galtieri says a water treatment plant operator first noticed the remote access hack. The bad actor increased the amount of sodium hydroxide, or lye, in the water supply from 100 parts per million to more than 11,000.
The public was never in danger. It would have taken between 24 and 36 hours for that water to hit the water supply system.
For the 15,000 residents of Oldsmar, Florida, the increase of sodium hydroxide in the water supply could have caused vomiting, chest, and abdominal pain.
This type of activity and this type of hacking of critical infrastructure is not necessarily limited to just water supply systems. It can be anything.
And that's of concern to people like Robert Lee, CEO of cybersecurity firm Dragos. He says this hack wasn't necessarily sophisticated, but many smaller cities like Oldsmar don't always have the resources to protect against them.
When you think about some of our most critical infrastructures, they're pretty well protected. When you think about a municipality or some of our smaller infrastructure, they don't get the same resources as the others.
Lee says on the local level, communities need to invest in stronger cybersecurity and dedicated staffing to protect against hacks.
When it comes to our smaller infrastructure sites, they are much more vulnerable in the sense that they aren't investing as much in security, but they're also not necessarily as big of a target. On a national scale, that may not seem impactful, but to those 15,000 people and their families, that's extraordinarily impactful.
Colonial Pipeline is one of the largest oil pipelines in the U.S., moving refined fuel to industry markets from Texas to New Jersey. It made headlines in May 2021 when it became the victim of a ransomware attack by a group identified as DarkSide. This attack infected some of the pipeline's computer systems, forcing the company to shut the pipeline down for several days. This caused gas shortages in some East Coast states, higher prices at the pump, and President Biden to declare a state of emergency. We'll cover the basics of how this ransomware attack happened and steps taken to restart the pipeline. But this isn't the only ransomware attack that happened in 2021. Learn about some other hacks by clicking the link above or in the description below. So, what is a ransomware attack? Ransomware is a type of malware that blocks access to an organization's data or computer systems until a ransom is paid, usually in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the ransom of choice for hackers due to the mistaken belief that the currency cannot be traced. This is the type of attack hackers chose to launch on Colonial Pipeline's computer systems. On May 6, attackers gained access to the Colonial Pipeline network through an exposed VPN password, stealing 100 gigabytes of data that they later threatened to leak onto the internet. During a House committee hearing in June, investigators said a Colonial Pipeline employee likely used this password in another location too, exposing it during a different data breach. On May 7th, the ransomware attack began and the pipeline operations ceased. attackers demanded a ransom of 75 bitcoins worth $4.4 million, which Colonial Pipeline paid to regain access to their systems. 5 days later, on May 12th, Colonial Pipeline restarted operations. On June 7th, a month after Colonial Pipeline paid the ransom, the U.S. Department of Justice recovered most of it, 63.7 bitcoins, worth $2.3 million. Is your organization revisiting policies and procedures to minimize the risk of a ransomware attack? Why or why not?
Okay, so you can see with those two videos what happened with the system, because our systems, if you think about it, when our president, current president, was running, one of the things he was running on is a new infrastructure bill to improve our security with computers, to improve our securities with everything that has to do with protecting us. He wanted to be able to get money out so each county, each state can do necessary improvement. Just like recently you've seen with the electricity, it was like they were saying it was vandals that was shooting out the places where electricity was, so people didn't have light, did not have heat. But they also can use cyber security breach to infiltrate those systems and stop them from working that way. The other thing I want to talk about is what just recently happened with Bank of America and how some people wasn't able to get their money. They noticed money was missing out of their accounts and different things like that. And also with the airlines, there was a delay in the airlines, and it was in America Airlines, you know, in the United States, all the systems shut down, but it also happened at the same time in Canada. And so they was just trying to say it was a breach, you know, it was a glitch in the system. It was no big deal. So I'm going to share those videos with you also, and then I'm going to come back with my opinion.
Bank of America and Zelle are now blaming each other for a technical glitch that had customers missing money from their accounts. Bank of America says the issue has been resolved, attributing it to an issue with the Zelle app. But Zelle is blaming the bank, saying there was no issue with its platform. ABC News business reporter Alexis Christoforous is here with more on this. Alexis, what do we know at this point about what and how this happened?
Yeah, they're playing the blame game, and who gets hurt in all this is the customer, right? So a really scary and frustrating day for lots of Bank of America customers. Imagine logging onto your account and seeing that money is missing. In some instances, there were negative balances. So as you can imagine, these people ran to the bank for answers. They didn't get any, so they lit up social media. They said they were calling the bank. No one was answering their calls. Some people stormed the branches. There was one person who tweeted, "I almost lost my mind when I saw $2,000 was missing from my account. Not accepting calls because of extenuating circumstances is insane. Call me." And that's when the blame game started. So Bank of America blaming a technical glitch at the payment platform Zelle for the vanishing funds. But Zelle was quick to put the blame back on the bank, saying the issue was not the result of any issues with the Zelle network. The good news is, by yesterday afternoon, Bank of America said all the funds were back and they thought everything was okay. But I'll tell you what, this is a confidence crisis that they're going through right now. And a lot of customers are still steaming mad.
Now, Zelle partners with lots of banks. So did anybody else have an issue like this?
That's right. So the payment platform is owned by 7 of the largest U.S. banks, Bank of America being one of them. As far as we know, they are the only one who had an issue yesterday.
Zelle, however, has been under fire by government officials for what they say, that they say the app is an easy facilitator for fraud or theft. Why is that, and what's being done about that?
Yeah, so Senator Elizabeth Warren has been very critical of both Bank of America and Zelle in the past. In fact, she said that the Zelle platform saw about $500 million worth of fraudulent transactions in 2021. She tweeted out yesterday, the bank and Zelle not doing enough here to protect customers. We haven't heard much from either the platform or the bank, and I don't think this is the last we're going to hear of it.
Human error or a cyber attack? Who was responsible for the computer network failure that recently caused the FAA to ground all U.S. air traffic for the first time since 9/11? Well, here to provide some insights is Dr. Eric Cole, cybersecurity expert and CEO and founder of Secure Anchor. Eric, it's good to talk with you again, but in some aspects it isn't so good. The FAA says 2 contract workers introduced errors into the core data used on the notice to air mission system. But this also happened in Canada on the same day. So was it a cyber attack? Who do you think was responsible?
This is what I would categorize as highly suspicious, because these systems have redundancy. They have backups. They have ways to be able to recover. So when I hear that there was a database error, and then as you said, there were 2 different systems that went down on the same time, I'm like, okay, saying it was human error keeps everyone calm. But in reality, it really does sound like a cyber attack, and that something went wrong that was unplanned for.
Okay, if it was a cyber attack, who may be responsible? I mean, right away we think Russia because of the war against Ukraine, the Canada and the U.S. are supporting.
Yeah, I mean, Russia lately has always been on the list, but we also forget that China is also a big target, especially when it comes to critical infrastructure. And there's also a lot of freelance cyber adversaries that are out there that are really big on ransomware, extortion, and things like that. So from my standpoint, it sounds like what we call a test attack, where they wanted to test and just see how vulnerable the systems were, whether they could get in, and how long it would take them to recover. So to me, the critical part for the FAA right now is to really figure out if it was a cyber attack, to figure out how they got in and make sure they fix it, because this sounds like it's going to be one of many attacks in our future.
Okay, and so this is basically my opinion about those 2 situations with Bank of America, Zelle, and the airport. It was either a security hack in the system, and they don't want to say it because that won't look good for us, that someone actually was able to hack the airport system as well as the banking system, or it could have been a beta test. And what I mean by a beta test is that they have people that they pay to actually hack the system to see if their system is strong enough not to be hacked. So they would have them hack the system, and if they do hack the system, they can see how long it would take them to get back online, what would happen, as far as the customers, how they're going to react, how they're going to deal with the customer. So it's like real life testing, because certain things you can't just test on, do simulations online. Some things have to go to the beta stage where they actually do real world testing. So that's the second option that I'm thinking about could have happened. And that allows them to see, hey, this is where we're weak at in our system. This is where we need improvement. And then that also gives them opportunity to build a stronger system that can't be hacked. So that could be another option that happened with the airport as well as Bank of America and Zelle. Because I know last year with Zelle, they had an incident where people was doing fraud through Zelle. And Zelle, as you know, is owned by different banks. So it's not just Bank of America that use Zelle. But in this situation, Bank of America was the only one that was having issues. And you see in the video I showed, they was going back and forth trying to say who issue it was. Was it a Zelle issue or was it a Bank of America issue? But either way, they need more security to ensure that the systems aren't hacked. And if something does happen and the system aren't hacked, because somebody might, leave a password somewhere, or they might do whatever, or sell a password or sell information, how quickly they can find out the issue and get everything back online, get everything fixed so people can access their money again. So like I said, it's just my opinion, my thought process, because what you have to understand is going on in the world is that right now Russia is upset because we're sending, not just us, but the United States is in with NATO. We're sending more tanks to Ukraine. Russia don't like that. And you know, Germany is sending tanks. They're like, we don't care if anyone else sends tanks, we're sending tanks. So they're doing that. And like I said, Russia don't like that. Then also you have to think about the situation that we have with China. China want Taiwan. China haven't given up on Taiwan. China want Taiwan back in its fold for many reasons. And Taiwan is one of the major producer of chips that we use almost in everything that you can think of, whether it's the cell phones, microwave, cars, any electronic, more or less have some type of chip in it that is made in Taiwan. So if China goes to war with Taiwan, America cannot let that happen, because if they do, that can more or less slow down or stop our flow of how business work, because we need those chips to keep everything moving, to keep everything working. So it's no question, if China do decides to go to war with Taiwan, America is going to jump in. And part of war now, because of the times that we're living in, part of this war is going to take place through cyber, you know, cyber war and different things like that. Or they might see, just to attack somebody else, see us fighting over here doing this. And so they say, oh, this is the opportunity, we could go in and hack their system. Because like I said, you see how easily it was them to hack the water system and try to poison people through the water, how easy it was to hack the pipeline with the gas. And then, you know, gas not flowing, where you're going, you can't drive. And then also with the airports, if everybody's trying to run to the airports and hop on planes, but no planes are flying, you can't get your money at the bank. So think about how much of a burden, how much of a slowdown, how much of an issue that would be if it was on a wider scale. So they do need to improve the infrastructure. So like I said, with the Bank of America, Zelle, and the airport situation, I don't know if that was an actual attack or if it was just beta testing to see how secure their system is, and also to improve their system. And also you got to think about, they're making changing in the way that we're banking with Bank of America, where they don't have people actually in the bank. You know, they're already trying that out, where they don't have people there. You know, you just go in, and if you need to actually speak to anyone, then you know, you talk to somebody virtually. So they might be, you know, also working on that with their system to see how secure they can make that, to make sure that if someone is working offline, that it can't be hacked on their end. So that's some of the things that you could think about. Like I said, I don't have any proof. I don't know for sure, but it's just basically my opinion based on everything else that I'm seeing going on, based on what went on, you know, like I said earlier last year with the pipeline and with the water, with both of those being hacked. So I just wanted to share that with you. I hope everyone is having a great day. Peace.